Welcome back, everyone, for our featured illustrator program for SCBWI. We are here this month to celebrate the work of Neha Rawat, and I'm so happy to have her here to talk about her work and her process. Neha, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you are on the other side of the world, and thank you for just making a little bit of time for me today.
Thank you for having me.
Neha, can you tell us a little bit about your art process and the materials that you use?
Yeah, so currently I work purely digitally. I've been wanting to dip my toes in traditional art as well, but I think it'll be a while before I can get that good at it. But for now, from start to end, everything is digital. When I'm working on a picture book project, so right from thumbnailing, character sketches, color, value study, everything I do on my iPad, just because it's so handy. I use Procreate for it, just because it's so handy, it's so intuitive. I just love that app. So it's very versatile for me. So I everything before the final art I use on my iPad, and for my final art, the lining and the coloring, I use Photoshop, and I have a stick tablet for it. So everything is digital at this point. Yeah.
And do you do sketches at all by paper, or is everything like from the very
No,
beginning?
everything is on the iPad just because it's easier to undo. I have this habit of just, undo, undo, undo. And then whenever I work on a sketchbook and I'm like, okay, can't undo this, can't zoom in, zoom out, can't copy paste, can't relocate. So I'm like, it's just easier and faster on digitally. That's why I've just become used to it
Yeah,
better. Yeah, actually.
it, it does spoil you, but you know, they're all tools that we can use in whatever way we need to, but the world is very digital at this point. So you talked about your materials. Do you have a daily practice, or are you a person who works purposefully, you know, in the moment?
So actually, it depends a lot on my schedule. I travel a lot. So my husband's an airline pilot. So we go on like short trips every now and then. It could be 2, 3 times a month, or things like that. So my schedule is a little erratic. So I sort of schedule my work time around that. When I know he's out, he's away on work. So I know this is my time, so I make sure I have a plan. If I want to draw something for social media, if I want to work on a book project, if I want to think of my own stories, I dedicate that time for it. But it's not like it's every day. There's no, I try to make a routine. I am a routine person, but it doesn't work out like that often. So whatever time I get, I try and make the most of it.
So how did you get into children's books?
So funny story actually. I quit working. I was an engineer earlier, so I quit working in 2015 because I knew I wanted to do art, but I went into it without a plan. I used to draw. I used to draw comics, a lot of stuff from everyday life. So I knew storytelling, like it came naturally to me. I love telling stories. All my characters were sort of cute and endearing, to look at, but it didn't hit me till about late 2019, early 2020, that children's publishing is actually an industry that I can enter in. So 5 years was quite a struggle where I was trying everything I could and nothing was sticking. Then I actually went to another friend's place whose wife was a children's book illustrator. And I was just looking at her work and I was so amazed. I'm like, this is something I can do. And he was also very encouraging. He's like, your art is perfect for children's book, why don't you try it? So it's just like a light bulb moment for me actually at that time. I'm like, I know I can do it, I just needed someone to point me in that direction. So I think after that is when I actually started researching how to get into the industry, what does it require, things like that. So yeah, it wasn't till late 2019 that I actually understood that this is my calling, this is my place.
What are your favorite things that you like to illustrate?
I love illustrating anything with characters, basically. It could mostly kids. I like drawing cute characters. Could be kids, could be animals. Even if I'm drawing a scenery or a landscape, if I don't have a character in it, then I don't really enjoy drawing it. So I start with thinking about what kind of mood or story I want to tell. I think about the character first, and then I place it in an environment. Use it sometimes. If I don't want to take that much time, it's just like a spot illustration. So it's basically character based. That's my main storytelling that I enjoy drawing.
So one of the things that I noticed about your work is that although I can tell you're very character focused, I noticed that there's a really good balance between your characters and the environment. And when I look at your work, it's not just about the characters. I draw my eye goes all the way into the back of the illustration, and there's things that I can find that are hidden within the pictures. Just little really interesting nuggets that flush out the character through the environment that they live in. And so I really enjoy looking at your work because I love character as well. But I also love to see environments that are fully fleshed out. And that, that's one of the things that I'm working on too. So it was really inspiring to see your work.
Thank you. So this is another thing. So once I got into, once I knew I wanted to become a children's book illustrator, I started researching on how I can enhance my craft, learn the skills, know more about the industry. So I actually joined classes on SVS Learn, and that really helped me. And one thing that they've said a lot in it is to hide small details in the backgrounds. Like your main storytelling should be your focus, but kids, they like to read stories again and again and again. So it's like you're reading it for the 5th time or the 10th time and you see something new. So that's just another joy that pops up after so long. So I try to hide small elements here and there just for some interest.
And can you tell me a little bit about where you draw inspiration from?
A lot of it is from other artists. So I use social media primarily for my art and to follow other illustrators. I love and admire artists who show their art process, just how they start, what materials they use, people who stream right from everything in the beginning to the end, how long it takes, because you can see a picture and you wouldn't know the time, effort, and the thinking that went behind drawing that. For you, it's just an image, but it could have taken them 20 hours, it could have taken them 2 weeks. So I really, just the time and effort and the ideation that goes behind drawing each. A lot of people share it and you really love watching it, which inspires me. Other than that, there's social media, there's Pinterest, picture books. So there are not a lot of bookstores and libraries around where I live. So I go to YouTube and I see picture book readings. I can, for inspiration, how other people tell stories, things like that. I listen to podcasts, illustration and non-illustration, because you draw inspiration from life experiences as well. But one person cannot have, we can't experience everything. So you need to, and I am an introvert, so I don't go put myself out there too much and socialize, interact with people. So I prefer listening to other people's stories, to podcasts, tech talks, things like that. So you don't know when inspiration will strike. So just about to keep your eyes and ears open, basically.
Why did you join SCBWI?
So like I said, late 2019, when I thought about entering the children's publishing industry, and I was on the internet finding all sorts of information that I can. And obviously SCBWI was top of the link, that this is an organization which is for children's book writers and illustrators. So I scanned through that to see what it would be like. Is it worth becoming a member? At that time, I probably had an idea that was a little more writer focused or something. I don't know. Probably it was, I didn't dig too deep into it, but I did see there was an SCBWI India chapter as well. And they were luckily having an event probably a month later or something. So I thought I'd attend it in my city. So I had planned to attend it. I hadn't joined as a member as yet. So I went there, and the talk was by another illustrator that I was following on Instagram. So I really enjoyed the workshop, and I spoke to a couple of people there who were members. And the thing about SCBWI, I realized, is when you're outside it, you could be on the fence whether to join or not. But the people who are members, 100% vouch for it. Like if you're not a member, you're missing out on a lot. And that's the feedback I got there as well. Everyone who was a member is like, you have to join it. It's the place. You have a lot of information there. It's the place where you have, everyone, your publishing industry, your agents, writers, illustrators, everyone. You have those conferences were still offline then. This was pre-pandemic, but after the pandemic, things went digital. So it actually opened a lot of more doors for people from around the world to be able to view the conferences, to view workshops and all. So that was a no-brainer. Then I was sure that I join it and it'll be beneficial.
Yeah. So before we go, I want everyone, even though I've showed your website and your Instagram, I want to make sure everyone knows how to view your work and, get in contact with you if they have some wonderful publishing projects that they want to give you.
So my website is nrbstudio.in. That's the same on Instagram and Facebook, nrbstudio.in. Twitter is something I've just recently started being active on because I want to start writing my own books as well. On Twitter, I am Neha Rawat, basically.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here to talk with me. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and hopefully we'll see lots of more books from you in the future. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.